CEO mocked the single dad's old laptop. Then he hacked her system in seconds. The moment Marcus Hale walked into the gleaming glass tower of Zenith Technologies, he knew he didn't belong there. Not because he lacked talent. God knows he had more of that than anyone in that building would ever give him credit for. But because the world had a way of judging men like him before they even opened their mouths. He was wearing his best shirt, the one he'd ironed 3 times that morning, while his 7-year-old daughter Lily watched cartoons on the second-hand television he'd bought from a garage sale. His laptop, a battered, sticker-covered machine that was nearly a decade old, was tucked under his arm like a shield. It was all he had. It was everything. Marcus was a single father who had spent the last 2 years rebuilding his life from the rubble of loss. His wife had passed away from a sudden illness, leaving him with a little girl who still slept with the lights on, and a mountain of debt that seemed to grow taller every time he checked his bank account. He had taught himself cybersecurity through free online courses watched in the dead of night after Lily fell asleep. He had no degree, no connections, no polished resume. What he had was a mind that moved like lightning through complex systems, an instinct for code that felt less like a skill and more like a second language his soul already knew. He had applied for the freelance cybersecurity consultant position at Zenith on a whim, responding to a listing that had appeared almost like a miracle on his screen one sleepless Tuesday night. The company was one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the city, and its CEO, Victoria Crane, was the kind of woman whose name appeared in magazine headlines next to words like visionary and ruthless. Marcus had spent 3 weeks preparing. He had stayed up until 2, 3, 4 in the morning, studying Zenith's public architecture, understanding their systems, preparing demonstrations that would speak louder than any diploma ever could. But the moment he walked into that conference room and Victoria Crane looked at his laptop, really looked at it, with its cracked corner and faded stickers that Lily had pressed on it one rainy afternoon, something in her expression shifted into something cold and contemptuous. She didn't even try to hide it. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people the world overlooks, please like this video, drop a comment below, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because every story here is proof that the human spirit never gives up. Victoria glanced at her colleagues around the table, and a slow, dismissive smile spread across her lips. She said something to the effect that she wasn't sure what kind of serious work could be done on a machine that looked like it had survived a flood. The room chuckled. Not everyone. One young woman near the window looked down at her notepad, uncomfortable, but enough people laughed to make the sound fill the room like something sharp and cold. Marcus felt it land on him, the way those things always do, not just as embarrassment, but as a confirmation of every doubt he'd whispered to himself in the dark. He thought of Lily that morning, handing him a piece of toast and telling him he looked handsome. He thought of how she had drawn him a good luck card with crayon stars around the border. He breathed. He asked them calmly if he could begin his demonstration. Victoria, still smiling as though the whole thing were a mild entertainment, gestured for him to go ahead. What happened next would be talked about in that office for years. Within 40 seconds, Marcus had accessed Zenith's internal network through a vulnerability so subtle that their entire IT department had missed it for 18 months. He didn't cause damage, that was never who he was. He simply illuminated the breach like turning on a light in a dark room, projecting onto the conference room screen a clear, undeniable map of everything their system had left exposed. Customer data, financial records, proprietary code, all of it sitting open like an unlocked door on a busy street. The silence that fell over that conference room was the kind that has weight to it, the kind you can feel pressing against your chest. Victoria Crane stood up slowly. Her expression had changed entirely. The mockery was gone, replaced by something that looked for the first time genuinely shaken. She asked how he had done it. Marcus told her, methodically and without arrogance, walking her through every step. He then spent the next 20 minutes outlining exactly how to fix it, presenting a security framework he had built himself from scratch, documented neatly in a PDF on that old, cracked, sticker-covered laptop that the room had laughed at. The young woman near the window was no longer looking at her notepad. She was watching Marcus with the kind of attention people give to things they know they will remember. Victoria Crane did not offer him a contract that day. What she did was far more significant. She stood up at the end of his presentation, walked around the table, and extended her hand. When she spoke again, her voice was different, quieter, stripped of its performance. She said she owed him an apology, and she meant it. Not every powerful person finds the grace to say those words, and Marcus received them with a quiet dignity that filled the room with something it hadn't had before he walked in. The contract came the following morning, a 6-month consulting engagement, with a rate that made Marcus sit down on the kitchen floor and press his hand over his mouth so Lily wouldn't hear him cry. He had told his daughter that morning that sometimes things take time, but they do get better, and she had nodded very seriously in the way that 7-year-olds do when they are trying to be brave alongside you. Now, sitting on that kitchen floor with sunlight coming through the window, he thought about how he would tell her. He thought he might just take her to get ice cream and let the ordinary joy of it carry the news. The vulnerability Marcus had found saved Zenith Technologies from what their security team later estimated could have been a catastrophic data breach. The story spread quietly through professional circles, not loudly, not with fanfare, because Marcus was not the kind of man who needed the world to watch. But word travels in the way that truth does, steadily and without asking permission, and within months he had more work than he could manage, a growing reputation, and enough stability to buy Lily a nightlight shaped like a moon that she had pointed at once in a store window, and then never mentioned again, because she had learned too young not to ask for things. He never forgot that laugh in the conference room, but he carried it differently now, not as a wound, but as a reminder of what it cost the world to underestimate quiet people, and what quiet people could do when they refused to become what the world expected. If this story moved something in you, if it reminded you of someone who was overlooked and kept going, anyway, please give this video a like, share it with someone who needs to believe in themselves today, and leave a comment below. Your words genuinely keep this channel alive and mean more than you know. Comment below, have you ever been underestimated by someone? And prove them wrong. Tell us your story. This community is listening. And Lily still has that moon night light. She sleeps without the lights on now.